Principles to live by to enjoy a good life. One of Socrates' more famous quotes is the one where he said that an unexamined life is not worth living. This philosopher spent most of his life up until the moment of his death questioning everything to do with virtue, vice, wisdom, and what it means to live a good life. He was subsequently sentenced to death after a trial in which he was accused of Socratizing, as they called it, the youth of Athens, who, thanks to this Socratizing, disobeyed the law and religion. However, before he drank the poisonous vial that led to his death, he was asked, "What punishment do you think you deserve for your crimes of impiety?" Socrates believed that he didn't deserve to be punished, as thought by the jurors and the citizens of Athens. Instead, he deserved a reward, a feast similar to what the city's Olympic champions enjoyed. Maybe the man was a little too eccentric to imagine that he should receive praise for his crimes. However, his thoughts on examining how one lives are even more relevant in this century, where fame, status, and absolute wealth are perpetuated as the path to a good life. What is the way we ought to live? What do you think? Should we live our lives based off what we see on TV? Or the way that society deems right? Socrates believed that happiness is attained when one gains knowledge of virtue and lives accordingly. He goes further to attest that those who commit evil deeds do so out of ignorance of the right way to live and attain happiness. In today's video, we will not be discussing the ideas of Socrates. Instead, we will be looking into some principles to live by to enjoy a quote-unquote good life. Think of this as a journey in gaining knowledge of what is virtuous, and tell us in the comments below which principles resonated with you the most. But before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you never miss any of our videos. Now let's begin. 1. No pain, no gain. If you've ever watched any motivation film, you'll notice that most of these films have a sad and often emotionally painful backstory. These films are trying to portray the importance of pain in becoming who we aspire to be. Pain here is not an unpleasant physical injury. Rather, it is the time and the effort that we put into making our goals come to life. This could be by setting aside time every day to work on improving efficiency in your business, to save costs and rake in more revenue, or by waking up 45 minutes earlier 3 days a week to exercise. Pain is experience. It is correcting previous courses and striving just a little harder to achieve just a little more, to learn each day. Even Socrates himself had to bear the pain of this way of life, and he would later on attest to this habit as a key tool to a life well lived. So, if you are like the fictional Nick Miller of the TV show New Girl, and you have an idea for a zombie novel, the only way anyone will read what you think is if you sit down and write it. Sure, there is a chance that your manuscript will suck, but working on one gives you a place to start, a basis for improvement. 2. Focus on what is important. You have heard it time and time again. The new world that we live in is filled with distractions at every other corner. There is your phone with its enticing social media apps and free games. Your smart TV with its cheap access to movies and shows. TikTok videos, Instagram posts, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. All these distractions will have you staring at your phone till 4 a.m. Our social media behaviors and the need for conformity arising from them are evident in your workplaces. Productivity and busyness are two different things. One has value and the other doesn't. However, to look like you're productive, most workers in offices just do things that keep them busy, like responding to emails immediately as they get in, or being the first to give a solution when a question is posted on a workplace chat room. Granted, some of these activities have value. However, a distinction has to be made between what is important and what is urgent. Stephen Covey talks about this in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Intelligent People. Important things have high value, while urgent ones demand to be looked at the moment. An email notification that you got may be important. Let us say that this email is giving you the best odds for a horse racing match happening over the weekend. If you are the odds manager in a betting company, this email is important. But if you happen to be in a surgical theatre in the 6th hour of a procedure, that email may not be necessarily important. Just the same, providing solutions to a problem posed in the chat room on some bugs that were encountered by users is important. But if you are in HR with no programming skills whatsoever, what you gonna do? Establish what is important. Assign time to work on it and implement a deadline. This is the only way to use your energy and time efficiently. 3. Define a path and follow it. There are a million things you could literally be doing with your life. Seriously. You could be a doctor, a philosopher, a techpreneur, a minimalist, a parent, anything. If human beings had an infinite number of years to live, we would have established a system that allows us to have multiple paths, each for a while. To make the most of our lives, it's important that we find a purpose. In a separate video that is linked below, we talk about finding your true calling in life, how to do it, and its importance. In a nutshell, your purpose is a source of motivation, a calling, if you will, and is drawn from what you love and what you are skilled at. People will always have an opinion on what you should be doing with your life, be it your family, friends, or the devil's advocate in your head. We've all been there. Some ideas are good, while others not so much. Without a purpose, you will be listening to what everyone else thinks about your life, instead of listening to yourself. 4th, the past is in the past. The future is in the future. Most of our daily anxieties and worries are centered on what we think we could have done better in the past, and what our future could look like if we do all we believe we are supposed to do. We ruminate on conversations from the past we feel we should have done better, and make specific illustrations of the future we believe we will have. Looking at the past is necessary for you to see what works, and how to avoid falling into some holes. It, however, becomes counterintuitive when you dwell on things that cannot be changed, blaming yourself or wishing you could turn back the clock. You cannot. If you messed up during a client meeting by giving out somehow inaccurate information, beating yourself up for the mistake doesn't correct it. You're human. You make mistakes. Get over it. Instead, ask yourself, what can you do right now at this moment to fix the mistake that was made? How can you heal your past self? The same can be said for the future. Envisioning the future and reveling on the happiness it will bring into your life is good, healthy even, as it can motivate you. There is only so much we can see from the present. So what do? Straighten your spine, lift your head and look around you. Then do what is important at that moment to secure your future and move forward from your past. 5. Be confident in your abilities and trust in yourself. My friend Brianna has quite the story when it comes to being confident about what you know. She was on the basketball team of her high school. Their team wasn't that good, and neither was she, but she played decent ball and was always on the first team. During the basketball championships of her final year, the team went against all odds and made it to the quarterfinals, where they played against one of their all-time biggest opponents. This was a tightly contested game, and by the end of the fourth quarter, Brianna's team was down by a single point. If they made a 2-point shot, they would, for the first time, make it to the semi-finals and possibly the finals. Literally seconds before the end of the game, Brianna found herself with the ball in hand, a meter or so from the hoop, with the opportunity to make a 2-point shot and win the game. Her insides were melting. Standing in front of that hoop waiting to make the shot, Brianna could feel the weight of the moment on her, and she felt scared and incapable of landing the shot. For sure, she had thrown 2-point shots before, but never had it been the winning or losing shot of the game. Unfortunately, she didn't have much time to think, The defenders from the other team were getting close. In haste, her mind filled with doubt, she took the shot. It didn't go in, and she lost a game for her team. When you ask her about that game today, she will tell you that the minute the ball left her hand, she knew that it would come short. In all that gnawing doubt, she forgot that her body, from years of practice, knew how much power she needed to score a two-pointer. She didn't realize that her mind had done the calculation based on the distance from the ball in her hand to the hoop, and had calculated the power for this very shot. She didn't believe in her mind, in herself. The cost was a score that may or may not have won them the game. This is the point to this story. Every single thing you try to accomplish in your life starts from the point of you believing in yourself. You recognize that you can work on and ultimately achieve the goals that you have set. This deep-seated confidence allows you to be kind to yourself when you make mistakes, to believe in your ability to do anything you set your mind to, and to have faith that your work will translate to results. These 5 principles are only a handful, but they are the most fundamental when it comes to living a good life. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.